What's going on, everybody? Just wanted to share some information here with you today regarding some chord progressions. Now, the way that I typically write chord progressions, or how I even come up with these chord progressions, is by looking at sort of a chart that kind of dictates the order, the number sequence of a scale. Now, when we're talking about scales, I'm assuming that you know the basic diatonic scale, meaning that if we start from the C note, we would go 7 notes in the scale, ascending. That's like 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5. This is like the C major scale. It's a very common sound. But why is the scale so important when we're figuring out certain chord progressions? Is because each one of these notes has a specific chord attached to it. So once you're able to figure out the scale here of the C major scale, you will kind of be able to know that the first interval, and if you look at that chart, the very first line, it's degree number 1. These are in Roman numerals, okay? If we look at that chart, and basically the first column there is the degree. See, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, when you're looking at this and figuring out, well, how can I apply this to some chords? And it's actually quite simple. If you just look at the first degree and you see it's a C chord, you probably know that this specific chord right here is a very nice C major chord that you've probably played. Again, probably when you're starting out guitar, this is probably the first chord that you went to. Now, when looking at this, we can very clearly see that the second degree is a D chord, but it's not a major chord, it's a minor chord by looking at the type of chord column, the third column there. Okay, so very clearly we can tell that the second degree of the major scale, if I play the D note here, it has a minor chord attached to it. So if you can just remember that each scale tone or each interval has a specific either major or minor chord or a diminished chord attached to it. This will kind of demystify how I come up with some chord progressions and how you can even come up with these yourself. This can be applied now to a more musical sense, and what we can do is we can kind of start basically just hand picking individual degrees and make a chord progression. What I really encourage you to do is start with 4 chords. So a very popular chord progression, which I'm going to show you right now, is something that you've heard all over the radio. A lot of pop songs have used it. And it's this: if you just follow the numbers of the chart, you basically have the 6th degree first, then you have the 4th degree, which is the F chord, then we go to the 1 degree, resolving to the G, which is the 5th. Okay, so just by looking at the chart, we have a 6, 4, 1, 5. And what that would sound like with a kind of a groove with the right hand, like this. A minor to the F, to the C, to the G. Okay, you've heard this. Justin Bieber uses it, Ed Sheeran uses this. Everyone has used this progression. Okay, this is a great practice right now. It's just, if you know your basic chords here in this position, this is the best place to start. Start with what you already know to build confidence. Don't go into new voicings if you don't have these voicings down yet. Build the confidence by playing things that you already know how to do and just applying a bit of theory. This is very basic theory, but this little basic theory can go a long way. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson here about chord progressions and how I like to use them. And again, make sure that you're looking at the chord relationship diagram that I provided there in the link below, just to kind of demystify and have a bird's eye view of what you're doing. And I can guarantee you, looking at the bird's eye view of the chord chart, and that will help you kind of to memorize everything a lot quicker, a lot faster, rather than just doing it all by ear. Okay, so hopefully that kind of demystified some of the topics about how to write a chord progression. Now, if you'd like to apply this to your own playing, all you have to do is just randomly, if you want, pick numbers from this diagram, 4 of them maybe even, and just see how it can sound. Does it work? Does it sound musical? Does it not? Try to make it musical by incorporating a consistent progression of the right hand picking pattern or groove. I think that'll really help and get you on the right track. Okay, so I look forward to seeing what you do with this.